Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to take a look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Sketch Edition of Superman Ghost of Krypton, the Page Puncher Wave. This is McFarlane Toy Store exclusive, gold label. I pre-ordered it there with the bundle, took advantage of the bundle discount and the coupon code, and here it is today. We have the black and white sketch line art editions of Brainiac, Ghost of Zod, Superman, and Earth 2 Superman Val Zod. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, Sketch Edition. Gold label. This is part of the Gold Label collection. A Gold Label figure is simply retailer exclusive. Whether it be Target or Walmart, this particular Gold Label is a McFarlane Toy Store exclusive. McFarlane Toys. DC Ghosts of Krypton includes 4 exclusive comic books. Earth 2 Superman, Superman, Ghost of Zod, Brainiac, authenticated limited edition, limited to 4,350 pieces. One side of the package, Ghosts of Krypton. On the back, you can see the comics, which I assume are going to be just like this, sketch editions, at least the covers. And at the bottom, there's the barcode, if that helps. And this is part of a huge haul of figures I got from the McFarlane Toy Store today. Time to open them up. Alright. Now that these figures are out of the package, here they are with all their accessories laid out. They don't come with any traditional accessories, but each figure has a display stand, a comic, and then I guess they all share the collector's card. In this video, we're going to take a look at each of the figures. We'll check out their life accessories, height, and articulation, and we'll compare them with the original Page Punchers. Then we'll compare them with a whole bunch of other action figures. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Before we look at Superman, let's go and check out the shared accessories between the bunch. So first of all, we have these display stands. There are 4 of them. It's a typical McFarlane display stand we've seen a million times before. Thin, basic, but effective. Then we have his collector's card. As you can see, it's a sketch version of Superman Ghosts of Krypton, the cover of number 1. Ghosts of Krypton, sketch edition. On the back side, we have a certificate of authenticity. This is number 1,369 out of 4,350. And it doesn't do much for me, but if you want to display the collector's card next to your figures, you have a stand to do so. Then we have these comics, Superman Ghosts of Krypton number 1 through 4. So you can tell which one goes with which figure, Superman, General Zod, Val Zod, and Brainiac. I think it's pretty cool. These comics are designed by McFarlane's team. Then they make figures based off the unique art and story they do. The comic is color on the inside. It's sketch on the front. It's cool to have variant covers of these guys if you go all out and get all the variations of the figures. Here are the original 4 color versions of these comics. These came with these standard releases. Now let's check out the figures. Here's Superman. Now, the single figure came with a bunch of armor pieces, and he was a big, bulky, armored Superman that almost looked like something out of Warhammer. I'm a little surprised this one doesn't come with the armored pieces. So, looking at his face, it does look pretty good. Now, something cool about the line art figures is McFarlane always has excellent top-notch sculpts, but a lot of times their paint jobs make the sculpts look worse than they are. On these line art figures, and some of the Platinum Unchased things, you can totally see the sculpt, and it looks really good. He even has a black line where the scar was on the original figure. It wasn't sculpted on there, just painted. Black and white accent. It has a black cloth cape. Very cool. He's got sort of spikes and armor all over him. Now, this is an armored suit, but he wore this armor under the larger, bulkier armor. None of it is a traditional Superman suit. You can see spikes all over it. Double jointed elbow, double jointed knee, screams of McFarlane type design. And a closer look at its face and head sculpt. Here's this Page Puncher Superman next to the single release with the bulky armor attached. And then here, next to that Superman with the armor removed. And if you wanted to, even though I don't think it looks very good, you can put the armored pieces from the single Superman release onto the sketch 4-pack Superman. And just for the record, the Superman body is exactly the same as the Val Zod body, except this Val Zod doesn't have gloves on. The Platinum Chase does. Only difference, head sculpt. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure and his lack of accessories, let's check out his height. And these guys are giants. They are enormous. And I like having a big Superman figure, but this guy is way too big. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 7.9 inches tall, which can translate to about 20 centimeters. Maybe he's in this big sort of armored suit and add some height to him, but he is enormous. And for his articulation, starting with his head, of course, you can rotate from side to side. You can look up and down about that much. Can tilt his head from one side to the others. Shoulders, ball joint goes out about this far, a little bit less than 90 degrees. Up, down, around. He's got the butterfly ring between his shoulder and chest, increasing the range of motion and covering up the gap that would be there. Bicep cut, double jointed elbow. His wrist can rotate, and it's going to be hinged. Ball joint his torso, rotate around, forward and back. Another one his waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, pretty good range of motion. Legs complete as splits, McFarlane style hip joints, rotation minimal to nothing. Legs go forward about that far, back not much. Double jointed knees, and his ankle forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock, and of course, torticulation. Here's a look at every single McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman figure before the sketch version. Here's a look at Superman in this big bulky armored suit, busting through a wall. We have the ruins of Metropolis and the Daily Planet all around him. Now let's take a look at Val Zod. Val Zod is a Superman of Earth 2. His origin story is similar to the regular Superman. He was his adopted brother, and in his universe, he was the one they sent to Earth instead of Kal-El. So let's take a look. Starting with his face here, it looks good. Good line on his hair. Nice fade going on. A little speck of white paint in his hair there. Pretty annoying. Not a huge deal. He's got black eyebrows and a little sort of dot above it, trying to give him some personality. It's almost like cell shading on this guy. Superman symbol on his chest. It's the same armored body, but this guy doesn't have ungloved hands. And he has those ugly, giant hands McFarlane uses a lot. Beyond that, everything is the same as Superman. I mean, black and white is a little bit different. He has a white cape instead of the black cape. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt, he seemed to have a little bit of annoyed look and expression on his face. The hair looks good. The line is excellent. That little white dot's bothering the hell out of me, though. Here's a sketch version of Val Zod next to the fully painted version. It's pretty cool to add another member of the Superman team or Superman family to the mix. And of course, there's also the armored Platinum Chase version of Val Zod. This one came with the armor, and it's a different set of armor than Superman. Not just the paint job, but the sculpt as well. Here's a look at that Val Zod with the armor removed. All three of them have the exact same sculpt, except the armored version had gloves on his hands. That is shared the same with Superman. And once again, I don't think it looks very good, but if you wanted to put the Val Zod armor pieces on the sketch version, you could definitely do so. And so all 5 of these figures, 2 regular Superman and 3 Val Zod, share the exact same sculpt for the body, with the exception of the head and some of the hands. And now for his height, and he's the exact same size as Superman. Giant. I feel sorry for his wife. Bottom to top, about 7.9 inches tall, 20 centimeters. And his articulation, which is going to be very similar to Superman's. Rotate his head from side to side, looks up and down, about that much. Tilt his head. Shoulders, ball joint, a little bit less than 90 degrees. Up, down, around. The butterfly ring, bicep cut, double jointed elbow, wrist, rotate, and hinged. Ball joint the torso. Another one the waist. Legs to the splits. It's pretty much the same as Superman. Go forward about that much. Double jointed knees. And his ankle, forward and back. Rotate, tilt, rock, and of course the toes. Here's a look at both the Platinum Chase armored Val Zod and the regular one. They're standing in the streets of Metropolis behind a bunch of ruins, including the Daily Planet. He's geared up, armored up, and ready for revenge. Now for General Zod. This is the ghost of General Zod. In the comic, he's in the Phantom Zone and doesn't have a corporeal body. He ends up merging with Brainiac, and it's a whole thing. Now, the regular version of the ghost of General Zod can glow in the dark, and it's a pretty cool feature, but obviously this one cannot. So let's take a look. And he has kind of a scary face. I mean, you can see it's almost like a skull. He doesn't have a full nose. The cell shading almost makes him look sort of evil. I like it. The line art sketch job. Look at the dark around the eyes, around the mouth. I like it a lot. Visually, very pleasing. And so is the regular version. He's got armor on one side, sort of destroyed, a logo of his. Z for Zod. Double jointed elbows and knees. Spikes. And semi-armored. It's like maybe he was rocking one of those armored suits and only has part of it left on. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt. It doesn't really look like General Zod. It looks like this creepy, sort of zombie-esque version. And I like it. The black and white color scheme kind of gives him more of a skull look to him. Here's the sketch version, next to the regular glow-in-the-dark version of the Ghost of General Zod. And here are all of the McFarlane DC Multiverse versions of General Zod. And let's add a couple of Mattel versions of General Zod. And these are all my Zod figures. And there are plenty out there that I don't have. I do have that third-party one coming soon. Looking forward to reviewing that. And now for his height. The very top of his head, about 7.6 inches tall, which can translate to just over 19 centimeters. And his articulation. Starting with his head, of course, it can rotate from side to side. He can look up and down pretty good amount. Can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders, the ball joint goes out way more than 90 degrees. Other one is quite a bit more obstructed with the big bulky shoulder armor. Up, down, around. The same sort of butterfly ring. Bicep cut. Double jointed elbow. Wrists can rotate and hinged. Ball joint the torso. Rotate around. Forward and back. Another one in the waist. Rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, pretty nice. Legs completely does the splits. McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation is minimal but there. Legs go forward all the way. Back not much. Double jointed knees. And then his ankle. Forward and back. Tilt, rock. Shirt can rotate as well. And toe articulation. Here's a look at the ghost of General Zod walking through a graveyard. Not exactly the Phantom Zone, but appropriate for the Ghost of Zod. A closer look at the Ghost of General Zod walking through the cemetery. And then here's a look at the Ghost of General Zod walking through the cemetery in moonlight, utilizing the glow-in-the-dark features. Pretty cool. And now for Brainiac, another Superman villain. And this version of Brainiac looks kind of like one of Brainiac's drones, so you can use it for that, or Brainiac, or whatever you want. Let's take a look. It's a very unique done body. Robot. Look at his feet. 2 little toes or 3. Articulation is totally different than a typical McFarlane figure. He's got these extra limbs with ball joints on the back. Nice amount of articulation. All these extra arms and then tentacles on the back. Very, very cool. Looks like some sort of double jointed elbows and knees. Now, I think this guy looks a lot worse in the black and white. You can't really tell he's a robot. A lot of the metallic elements are missing. And the sculpt is still there, but I think the black and white sort of tones it down, and I just can't really see all of it. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt. He does have Brainiac's signature 3 dots on his forehead. It's a very unique looking figure, and that's definitely part of the charm of this guy. Here he is, next to the regular version of Brainiac. And of course, they also made a Plenum Chase variant, and each one has its own unique charm. Here are all the different McFarlane DC Multiverse Brainiac figures, 2 variations of the Injustice 2 Brainiac, and 3 variations of the Page Puncher version. Now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 7.2 inches tall, which can translate to just over 18 centimeters. If you go to the top of that arm, about 8.5 inches tall. And for his articulation, starting with his head, of course, you can rotate from side to side. You can look up and down about that much. Can tilt his head. He's got little ball joints on almost all limbs back here. This one in particular, forward and back, rotate, with some, kind of go up and down, tentacles, shoulders, ball joint. It's connected with a ball here and a little peg that goes into the back. So we can rotate on the peg. Ball's hinged, good range of motion. Kind of double jointed elbows, they go all the way in. There is a little bit of rotation there as well. The rest is one solid piece. He does have a traditional wrist on the other hand. Rotation and hinged. In his torso, he's got ball joint in his waist. Rotate around, forward and back. Torso is one solid piece. Legs, they go out about this far. Ball joints, they can rotate against the ball. Go forward all the way, back quite a bit. Double jointed knees. Then his ankles, forward and back. Tilt rock. Rotate. And he does not have toe articulation. Here are these Brainiac figures working together to control and manage the Skull Ship. Here's a look at these two Brainiac figures in the control room of the Skull Ship. And if you wanted a more traditional Brainiac, you could have these guys as Brainiac drones controlled by the actual Brainiac himself. Here's a look at these 4 sketch page punchers in the streets of Metropolis. And here's the entire Superman Ghost of Krypton page puncher wave. We have the 4 sketch figures, the 4 single releases, and the 2 Pun of Chase variants, giving us a total of 10 variations of the page puncher wave. Now let's check them out. Next to some other action figures, starting off with some other Superman Ghost of Krypton page punchers. Here's the entire Superman Ghost of Krypton page puncher wave. We have the regular, armored, and the unarmored sketch version of Superman. The regular, and the sketch, and the Pun of Chase armored version of Val Zod. The sketch and the regular version of Ghost of General Zod. And then the regular, the sketch, and the Putnam versions of Brainiac. Now let's check them out. Next to some other sketch figures. Here's the sketch Superman page puncher wave. Next to the sketch Rebirth Superman. Then, next to the sketch Comedian Joker. And here, next to the sketch the Batman Who Laughs. Then, next to the sketch version of Black Manta. And now, next to the most recent sketch figure, this is the sketch White Knight Azrael. Here they are, next to the sketch page puncher Mr. Freeze. Here they are, next to the sketch Batman figures. There are currently 3 of them, and the next sketch figure to come out is going to be the Hush Batman. And while not part of their DC Multiverse line, McFarlane also made a sketch Spawn figure. Here they are, next to a couple more sketch figures. This is Batman and Black Adam from the first wave of page punchers. These are sketch figures, but they're not black and white line art figures. And then here, next to an older DC Direct Jim Lee New 52 sketch Batman, here are all of the McFarlane DC Multiverse line art black and white sketch figures. The next one to come out is going to be the Hush Batman, and I'm sure they're going to make plenty more. And then here are all the different sketch McFarlane and DC figures that I have. So that was a look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse page puncher Superman Ghost of Krypton sketch black and white line art 4-pack. It's a pretty cool pack, especially if you're interested in the line art figures. They do look nice, and they look pretty cool as a big group on the shelf, but I much prefer the colored regular versions, as I'm sure most of you do too. But if you're collecting these, this will really enhance your collection. 4 more at once. This is the first multi-pack of sketch figures that I've seen McFarlane do. The box is very nice, the presentation's good. Each of the figures has a nice sort of shell shading sketch look to them. Looks like they were sketched onto the comic and haven't been penciled or filled in yet. A little bit disappointed that Superman doesn't have his armor pieces. Could be cool to have another set of those to play around with. And none of them come with any of the accessories the originals came with. Although there isn't that much stuff missing. Superman's armor, General Zod's hands, that's about it. They're nice figures, and if you're completist like me, it's nice to have all the different variations. 3 Brainiac, 3 Val Zod, 2 Superman, and 2 General Zod. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.